Freemasons worship a secret god, and this is the name of him. I'm going to decode this symbolism so you can understand it. This represents God's consciousness, and it streams down to 4 sections for the 4 bodies of God: a lion, a bull, a man, and an eagle. These are the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac: Taurus the bull, Leo the lion, Scorpio the eagle, Aquarius the man. You see this in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The man, the eagle, the lion, and the bull surrounding Jesus. The 4 fixed signs represent the 4 bodies of consciousness. Aquarius is an air symbol, which is the mind. Taurus is an earth sign, which is the body. Leo is a fire sign, which is the spirit. Scorpio is a water sign, which is the emotion. This is God's consciousness streaming down to Yahweh. Yahweh, the name of God, means I am. God's consciousness goes to I am. I am goes into the 4 bodies of your consciousness: the body, the mind, the spirit, and emotion. Every single one of us are an extension of the divine presence of the universe. Jesus actually represents you, a manifestation of God's consciousness. Stop worshipping Jesus and embody his qualities into your life so you can live like God. The church has just muddled this up and created a religion so you give away your power. The secret God of the Freemasons is the self. This is why they all focus on self-mastery to achieving high states of consciousness. Freemasons wear this apron because it originates from stonemasons. Stonemasons wore these aprons to protect themselves from any flying chips when carving stone. But in Freemasonry, this is allegorical. The stone that you are carving in Freemasonry is yourself. You are perfecting the stone. You are perfecting your mind and heart, your brain and heart, because the stonework is taking place on the individual's consciousness to gain self-mastery and a higher consciousness. Apron is worn over the genital areas, which represents the centers and the energies that are associated with the lower self, such as eating, sexual pleasure, and power. Apron is a reminder to gain control over the lower self, hence why there is an eye placed on the apron sometimes. The eye is a symbol of being conscious, being aware. This is a Masonic reminder of the Masonic work, perfecting the self and gaining control over the lower desires and impulses, so they can climb the ladder towards higher consciousness and higher understanding of the self. Book of Symbolism is now available. So the Vatican is telling you the truth in plain sight. You just have to look. This is all symbolism. But because people have not been trained to read symbolism on purpose, they never see this stuff. Christians will say, oh, that's just a coincidence, you know, that's not a snake. This is a snake. But what does the snake represent? It's not Satan. It's not the devil. What if I told you this snake is the true religion? Yes, this is why you see snakes in Buddhism. You see it in the Garden of Eden. You see it in pretty much every religion. Why? What is the snake? Well, the snake has the ability to shed its skin, to transform itself, to remove layers. And that's the whole point of you being in a material reality. Because what you're meant to do, which is the true religion, well, I don't like calling it a religion, is to cast off all of the bondages so you can reveal your true God essence beyond all the layers of the ego and the mind and the body and the emotional traumas. You have to strip off all of the layers. So the serpent was a symbol that represented the ancient spiritual tradition of self-awakening, removing the layers. But all of this has been demonized today. They've demonized all of this because they want you to believe a religion. So here's Donald Trump meeting Japan's new Prime Minister, and take a look at the symbolism. This is the Freemasonic Royal Arch. Checkerboard floor, 2 pillars and an archway. Checkerboard floor, 2 pillars and an archway. People are ignorant if they don't understand this. They're showing you they are occultists. That does not mean they're inherently evil. It just means they study the occult. They study the hidden, unseen aspects of the human psyche and the human consciousness. These people are very intellectual. Now, it's up to them how they use this knowledge. Do they conceal it and use it against others, or do they use this knowledge to uplift people? You can decide for yourself how they use this knowledge. But they're basically showing you that they are initiated into a secret society or an occult school. Did you know your heart senses changes in your environment before your brain does? Yes, The heart produces an electromagnetic field in a toroidal shape, which means the energy is emitted and loops back on in itself, which means the energy that is emitted from the heart interacts with the vibration, frequency, and energy in the surrounding environment. And this data it collects from the environment is received directly back into your heart. So you can detect shifts in energy and vibration in your environment. This is why you can walk into a room and sense if there's something bad going to happen, or you can sense someone's bad vibes. This is because your heart constantly interacts with the environment's energy and frequency and receives back to your own energy system. This is what we call precognitive ability. The ability to detect and process energetic frequencies in your environment. And this is what we call intuition. So this is Heineken headquarters, and take a look at the symbolism. We all know what Heineken is, which is a beer brand. And what's even crazier is that if you flip it upside down, you get an inverted pentagram, and the 3 E's make 666. So if they're studying the occult, then why aren't you? This knowledge of Masonry isn't inherently evil. It's how you use the knowledge, in a good way or a bad way, to enslave people or to free people, to activate higher consciousness. Start studying the occult, because all these big corporations, big politicians are all doing so. The fastest way you can make money is by not chasing money. Instead, we need to shift our mindset. Money is the effect of what you do. If we only focus on the money, we will feel unfulfilled when we reach it, and we'll be forever chasing in this rat race. Instead of wanting money, we should want to create as much change and benefit to people as possible. If a person buys your service, give them 120%. Make sure that you're going to look after this person. The more you change people's lives, and the more people's lives you change, the money will come as a side effect of your good work. I wake up in the morning and the first thing I think is, how can I benefit people? How can I make them learn something new about themselves, to understand themselves? And I don't focus on the money, because that's just a side effect of what I do. We only focus on money, we will stress, we'll have anxiety, we'll never feel fulfilled. Your body is the earth, and if you don't think so, you can stay lost in the matrix. The body is a piece of technology that runs a simulation to your consciousness. We never truly encounter the external world. Everything we feel, we touch, is the brain's interpretation of electrical signals going through our nervous system. We don't hear with our ear. What we hear is our brain's interpretation of the vibration entering our ear. You touch, taste, smell, hear, and see with your brain. Reality is a simulation produced by the physical body. The mainstream media wants you to think that you are inside this universe and you are experiencing the universe. But in fact, you are the universe creating the universe right now. They want you to think reality was created and now you're just experiencing it, when in fact it's the complete opposite. Reality is not fixed, it's malleable. We, as a collective, change and generate the universe. Creation is never ending. Your mind, emotions, thoughts, all of these things exist outside of time, space, and matter. Your higher consciousness uses the body as a vessel to interact with the 3D world. This is why the occult says mind over matter, the internal world controlling the external world. Do not let the external world control you. If you want to succeed in life, you have to understand this one thing. There is an energy field all around you. Science tells you this. But what they don't tell you is that there is a field of mind surrounding you. The mind is not the brain. The brain is a physical manifestation of the mind. Surrounding you right now is a vast field of mind filled with infinite thoughts of the universe. We don't create thoughts, we receive them based on our mind set. Whatever we set our mind to. And the pineal gland is the radio receiver for this mental field and how we interact with the mental field. The way thoughts express themselves is like a tree pattern. If you set your mind to the thought of a triangle, that triangle is linked like a chain to another thought, to the number 3, for example. Then the number 3 will lead you to another thought, for example, thought, emotion, action. Then that will lead to another thought, which will lead to creation, how you create. So Thoughts act like a chain effect. You think of one and it opens up a branch to all the related character of thoughts. Therefore, if you start to set your mind on negative things, you will lead yourself down a chain of thought to all the negative possible outcomes to the character of that thought. Before I present a lecture to my private community, Ethereal University, I will sit down in silence. I set my mind on the topic I'm going to talk about, so I penetrate that specific pocket of thought within the mental plane. Then I let my mind branch off into all the different things that I need to talk about, and it will give me ideas, different things of how to talk about it. To the person who thinks unconsciously and randomly, you will not have much power. But once you start to train your mind and to penetrate these different pockets within the mental plane, you can really start to gain ideas by following the chain of thoughts. Thinking outside the box has a deeper meaning than what we've been led to believe. Inside the occult, the circle means the spiritual plane, the eternal. Triangle represents the life force plane, the etheric plane. And the square represents the material physical plane. Most people only think in reaction of their five senses. The untrained mind only thinks within the boundaries of the material self. The truth is, the mind exists outside of time, space, and matter. The body remains in the present moment, while the mind can think in the past, present, and the future. Which means the mind operates outside of the laws of time, space, and matter, while the body exists within time as it's stuck in the present moment. The physical plane is the lowest dimension there is in the universe. Physical plane is the outcome, it's the effect, it's the manifested world. Humans have the ability to use higher dimensions of consciousness to create change in the physical plane, such as the astral plane, which is the imagination. Thinking outside the box, the physical body, means that you should use the higher dimensions of consciousness because you are not your body. You are a soul, and the soul uses the mind to think. And the mind thinks thoughts, and the thoughts take the body of imagination. The imagination takes the body of energy, and energy crystallizes into physical matter. Freemasons show a ladder rising off the ground, and the ground has checkered squares, symbolizing the duality of the material plane, and ascending consciousness to the higher planes of existence, symbolized by the stars. The fastest way to manifest any reality you want is to have unity consciousness. Most people have a divided consciousness. Consciousness expresses itself and creates reality in three different ways. We think, we feel, we act. Most people think about creating financial wealth, but their emotions feel like they're sad, and their actions are scrolling on TikTok. Your three creative powers are divided and not working together. To create a reality efficiently and fast, you have to unify your thought, emotion, and action. Think as if it's already achieved. Feel like you have a love and a care towards it, and your body will naturally take the action. Sometimes I'm writing my third book. I get bored. I feel like I want to play the Xbox. But then I remind myself, unity consciousness, think, feel, and act towards that one goal. And after slaving away for I don't know how long, I finally completed my third book. Remember, you only act on what you care about. If you do not care about your goal, you will not take the action. Care or love is the generative principle of your creation. You're watching this video right now because you care about the information. Third book is finally completed. You can join the waiting list in my bio. The biggest lie they ever told you is money is currency. The true currency is not money, not wealth, not success or anything material, but the true currency is time and attention. This is why you say you spend time and you pay attention. We're meant to spend time and pay attention to life, to nature, to ourselves, explore the world, explore the universe, explore our minds. This is what we're meant to spend our currency on, not this man-made mind control thing we call money. The next time a Christian says Jesus is Lord and Christianity is the truth, show them this video. This is proof. Go and look at your ancient early Christian paintings. This one was created in 1625, and you can find this in Rome. Yes, Rome. What is it? It's the Kabbalah. They've hid Jewish mysticism inside of their paintings, proving that religion is encrypted occultism. The truth is consciousness. God is consciousness. And this Kabbalistic tree is just one of the systems showing how consciousness creates the physical form. It's what we call the Kabbalah tree, right? And there are 33, 10 Sephiroths, 1 Dath, 22 pathways, 33. Jesus is crucified at 33. It's all the Kabbalah. This is said to be the origins of all religions. If you want to become successful, you have to understand the pentagram, because this reveals the secret of how spirit turned into a material reality. When you draw a pentagram, it's descending down from spirit to fire to air to water to earth to spirit. It's one continuous line expressed in 5 different ways. You don't lift your pencil off the paper, symbolizing the process of spirit turning into a material reality. This is why this is associated with magic, because each element is symbolic for an aspect of you. Spirit is the divine source where all things emanate from. First descends into fire, which represents the willpower. The will then manifests down into air, which is the mind, the intellect, thinking. Then that manifests down into water, which is emotion, desire, care. That manifests into the earth, which is your physical body, where you take action. Emanates from the source, you have willpower, thought, you have a care, and if you have a care, you take the physical action. And that's how all creation is manifested into a material reality. And for anyone asking, November 17th is the date for the new book of Symbolism. Everything they told you about these cathedrals is a complete lie. These were not places of worship, and they were never built or designed to be a church. These were healing centers. But how do these centers actually heal you? Through light and geometry. Now let me explain. If I shine a light through a geometric pattern, this pattern represents a specific frequency. This is what you call cymatics. Every frequency has its own sacred geometric pattern. So when you shine a light through this medium, it changes the frequency and becomes that cymatic pattern. Plus the colored stained windows, right? Red, blue, purple. This is light therapy. When you shine light rays through a specific color, it blocks out all of the other colors and only lets through the red light, for example, if it goes through the red. So this is allowing red, blue, and purple through. And what this does is have healing effects on the human body and the biofield. So all of this was technology. This is why when you walk inside of these places, you feel high energy, you feel different. So God is written in your DNA, but no one understands this because people believe they are a monkey evoluted on a spinning ball flying through the middle of space. Why? Because they're ignorant and they believe whatever the elites tell them. But go and look at the human DNA. We see sulfuric bridges in the sequence of A, T, C, G, which if we put that into numbers is 10, 5, 6, 5. But if we put 10, 5, 6, 5 into the Hebrew alphabet, Yod equals 10, Hey equals 5, Vav equals 6. So we have Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey, which spells Yahweh. Yahweh is the tetragrammaton. And if you turn Yahweh on its side, you get the human body. When you inhale, it sounds like Yah. When you exhale, it sounds like Way. And this is also corresponding to the 4 elements: fire, air, water, earth, the 4 physical elements that create the material world. Fire is the spirit, air is the mind, water is emotion, earth is the physical body. 4 bodies of consciousness in Gnosticism. So God is written in you. Why? Because you are an individual expression of God. You are God made manifest in a physical form. Your ego is not God, but the very spark beyond your mind, the person who observes your mind, is the very consciousness and spirit of God. November 17th, revivalofwisdom.com, the Book of Symbolism will be released. You've probably already read the first 2 volumes. This goes way deeper than you can possibly imagine. I can't wait to share this with you. The Bible is an encoded story. Jesus tells you to meditate. Matthew 6:34. Jesus repeats, "Take no thought" 5 times. This is how you access higher realms of consciousness. By removing thought, you detach from your personal consciousness and your attachments to the material world. The mind then becomes a gateway into the inner realms of consciousness. Jesus repeats, "Take no thought" 5 times. Take no thought and turn off the 5 senses. When the body is completely still for a long period of time, you lose all sensations and you no longer feel your body. And when there is no thought in your mind, it allows your consciousness to enter a trance-like state, and you can access the astral plane and altered states of consciousness. The Bible is an encoded manuscript, but the church doesn't want you to know this. The world is suffering because we do not understand ourselves. The firmament that humanity lives under is your own brain and skull. Why? Break down the word firmament. Firmament. Mental. Mind. The firmament you live underneath is your skull and brain. That's the dome that you live underneath. Because you are not your body. You are the invisible creational being inside your mind, the person who thinks. You have a person outside your mind, and you have a person inside your mind. This person who's outside the mind will die. But the person who thinks in your mind is eternal and will always be eternal. So the firmament is the brain. That's the dome. Because your body is the earth. You're experiencing a simulation right now produced by your nervous system. Your nervous system is running the simulation. All of your 5 senses are decoded by your brain, and you experience, you see, you touch, you taste, you hear with your brain. And that's just running a simulation to your consciousness. So here's the UK ex-Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, showing you some occult symbolism. This is the Freemasonic Royal Arch. 2 pillars and an archway. 2 pillars and an archway with the number 3333. So when you see someone in the middle standing between 2 pillars, it's basically a symbol of an initiate. Because these 2 pillars represent the masculine and feminine forces of consciousness. So when you see a person in between them, it's basically they are the middle pillar. They are the person balancing the masculine and feminine forces of consciousness. Or you see a ladder. This is the path to higher consciousness. So they're showing you they're occultists. So if you're born in one of these zodiac signs, you're probably thinking, why did the Freemasons use these zodiac signs? But let me tell you, this is symbolism. This is not talking about star signs. It's something much more deeper. If we take a look at the symbolism here, we have a coffin which represents a state of unconsciousness. Before you spiritually awoke, you didn't even realize you possessed consciousness. You took life for granted, but then you rose out the coffin, which means you became aware, you spiritually awoken. So the reason why they used these zodiac signs is because these signs from Aries to Libra are the signs where it goes from spring to autumn, where there is the most light. This period of the year is the warmth, the most light given by the sun. These zodiac signs are the darkness where autumn and winter takes place. So it's about rising from the coffin into the light of higher consciousness. So this is allegory for more light, which is just symbolism for knowledge. It's why if you're intelligent, you say you're a very bright person. So it's going from darkness to light, from unconsciousness to becoming conscious of the self. The fastest way to manifest any reality you want is to have unity consciousness. Most people have a divided consciousness. Consciousness expresses itself and creates reality in 3 different ways. We think, we feel, we act. Most people think about creating financial wealth, but their emotions feel like they're sad, and their actions are scrolling on TikTok. Your 3 creative powers are divided and not working together. Create a reality efficiently and fast. You have to unify your thought, emotion, and action. Think as if it's already achieved. Feel like you have a love and a care towards it, and your body will naturally take the action. Sometimes I'm writing my 3rd book. I get bored. I feel like I want to play the Xbox. But then I remind myself, unity consciousness, think, feel, and act towards that one goal. And after slaving away for I don't know how long, I finally completed my 3rd book. Remember, you only act on what you care about. If you do not care about your goal, you will not take the action. Care or love is the generative principle of your creation. You're watching this video right now because you care about the information. Third book is finally completed. You can join the waiting list in my bio. So here's Osiris next to the human brain. And you can see clearly that this is representing human anatomy. And if we look at the story of Osiris, Osiris in his story, in his mythologies, he died and resurrected, which is symbolic of the spiritual process of awakening. Why? Because Osiris represents the midbrain, which is your reptile brain, the animalistic state of consciousness. And this is the state of consciousness that we must raise from. And we have to symbolically kill ourselves, removing who we think we were, because we're stuck in the reptile brain, in order to ascend to a higher mind. So the story of Osiris is actually about death and resurrection, escaping your lower mind towards the higher mind. And this is why he's known as the god of the underworld, because the underworld is your reptile brain where consciousness can't really create. It's stuck in a survival state of reaction. So this is an Iranian temple, and if you look at the ceiling, you'll see these geometric patterns and colors. The reason why they did this is because they're basically showing you visualizations of the higher realms of consciousness. If you take DMT, this is the sort of things that you see. When you take DMT, you are shot out of your physical body and you more than likely go to a higher mental plane. And this is exactly what the mental plane looks like. It is created through thoughts and thought forms and vibrations. Very difficult to put in English words, but these temples were built thousands of years ago and they're showing you higher dimensions of consciousness. If you look at Erica Kirk's ring, you'll see the letter G, but everyone always says, what does this G represent? Yes, it's Freemasonic, but this is the reason why guide, gnosis, geometry, genesis, God all begins with a G, because it all relates to the generative principle. The generative principle is the force that creates all reality, which is care, or the heart, the love. All creation is created through love. You're watching this video right now because you care about gaining the information. And if you don't care, you'll take the action to scroll and find another video you care about. Whatever's in front of you in your reality, it's because of the G, the generative principle, the care energy. You only take action on what you care about. If you care about money, you'll take the actions to generate that reality. If you care about football, you'll take the actions to generate a football reality. So this is the G. This is the force that drives human action. This is why they say money makes the world go round, because everyone cares about money. So why is it the Freemasons show a green lady on a ladder? Because this represents the ascent of consciousness. How do you ascend consciousness? Well, first of all, you don't know what higher consciousness is when you are on the ground, which is base consciousness, stuck in duality, not knowing light from dark, not knowing right from wrong, living unconsciously. So in order to raise your consciousness, you have to come into contact with the feminine energy, which is the heart. You have to care, which is the G. You have to care to take the action. Because if you do not care about reaching a higher consciousness, you will not take the action necessary to go within yourself, to meditate, to conquer yourself, to master your thoughts. So you have to come into contact with the care energy, reconnect with the feminine, and direct the care and the love energy towards the things that's going to push you towards a higher consciousness. And that's why they show the women on the bottom. Here it is. Before you can ascend towards the light, you have to come into contact with the feminine. And that's why this woman is holding a baby and caring for the baby. It's symbolic of coming into contact with the generative principle, because in order to ascend from base consciousness, you have to care about reaching a higher consciousness. The ancient Egyptians were trying to tell you who the real God of this world is through symbolism and their artworks. But because no one understands symbolism, we are confused when we look at the ancient remains of the past. So look at what the Egyptians are trying to tell you here. One source, which is the sun or the soul, giving the Ankh to the birds, the animals, the plants, the cows, everything, and humans. One soul expressed in different costumes. Me and you are made out of the same fabric. However, our minds have been programmed differently, which makes us unique. But beyond our mind, we are all the same consciousness. The one expressed in many. That's why this is a circle, because the circle represents the number 1. Because it's one continuous line. There are no edges, no curves. It's a constant cycle of infinity. We are all one consciousness expressed in different bodies. So here's Jesus next to the human brain, and take a look at the similarities. And what's even more interesting is that your brain has 12 cranial nerves, and Jesus has 12 disciples. Jesus spreads his gospel through the 12 disciples to the world. Your mind, which is Jesus, consciousness, spreads its commands to control the body through the major 12 cranial nerves. How interesting. The Bible is not history. It is an encrypted, allegorical text talking about mentalism, because the universe is mental, and human anatomy and consciousness. Jesus is not a figure to worship, but something that we should embody within ourselves. Christ consciousness. So here's some early Christian artwork showing you mushrooms, magic mushrooms. This is one of the most ancient ways to increase and expand your awareness and consciousness. This one's even more interesting. This is the Last Supper, a very ancient painting of the Last Supper. And if you look at the very bottom underneath the table, you get these mushroom figures. So magic mushrooms reveal to you that we live in a mental universe, because when you take them and you hallucinate, whatever you think, you start to see. Your thoughts change your hallucinations. So you realize that the world is a mental world, mind over matter. So Bohemian Grove has the owl, but we also see this same owl symbolized on bank buildings. We see this on Washington, D.C., the White House from above. We see it on the old 5-cent coins, and even on the $1 bill. Now, this owl is everywhere inside the occult. It even goes back to Ishtar. You see Ishtar with the owl standing on top of lions. Now, this owl has a deep esoteric meaning, but because we can't understand symbolism, no one can read what they're trying to show you. This is a symbol of the dark occult. Now, what is the dark occult? The dark occult is simply people who use occult knowledge of consciousness, psychology, the brain, reality, against people who do not understand the occult sciences. So, in short, it represents the dark occult. And this is basically symbolizing the dark occult ruling the White House. If you get the word earth and place the H at the beginning, you get the word heart. And this is why the earth is green mainly, because it's associated with the green heart chakra, which is love. It's the middle of the visible spectrum, balance. And this is why nature is always seeking to balance itself and regenerate itself. But what if I told you this has a deep meaning? Heart. This is the generator of your reality. You generate what you love or what you care. You only take action on what you care about. Therefore, the earth is the manifestation of love energy. All creation demands love. If you love football, you take the action to go play football. If you love money, you take the action to go generate money. That is the generator of your reality. So this is why the word heart and earth are the same, because it is the heart that generates earth, the physical manifested plane. Everything you've been told about magic is a complete lie. And if you want to become a magician and create the reality you want, you have to understand the symbolism that the magician card in the tarot is trying to tell you. So here you see a wand, and wands are not these magical things you cast spells with. This is a symbol. The symbol of the wand represents direction and willpower, because where you focus the wand is your direction. So this represents consciousness directed, which is your time and attention, where consciousness is directed to. Your time and attention, whatever you focus on and whatever you spend your two spiritual currencies on, time and attention, that's the reality you create, and consciousness creates that reality. Then you see this principle of as above, so below. This represents what happens in the higher dimensions of consciousness happens in the physical plane. Your reality is a crystallization of thought. All the thoughts you thought in the higher dimensions, in the mental plane, has manifested your world in the lower dimensional plane, the physical. The higher dimensions, such as thought, desire, are always acted out inside of the physical plane as physical actions. You take action on what you desire, on the inner forces of consciousness that control your actions. Then you have this sword. The sword represents intellect, because the sword is a tool and your intelligence is also a tool. The sword moves through the air. It's basically showing you the air element. Air is the mind, water is emotion, earth is the physical body, and fire is the spiritual will body. So this is all showing you how you can create reality. This is why you see the 8, the infinity sign, because there are 8 laws that govern consciousness. And these laws are very simple: rhythm, polarity, cause and effect, care, gender, correspondence, and vibration. This is what the true seed of life is. The seed of life is basically the 8 laws creating a flower pattern, because it's the 8 spiritual laws that crystallize a physical creation.